Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Real Estate Virgins podcast, where we are here to elevate your business in 2024 and beyond. I want to give a special shout out to the people watching on Instagram Live right now. If you're on the live and you hear something or you want to interact with us, we're going to be monitoring this, and I'm looking at it right now. So if this is something you're interested in participating, you have questions, feedback, concerns, let us know. This is something that we're trying out for the first time, and I think we're going to continue doing it. That's pretty cool. Well, anyway, welcome to the channel. My name is Jordan Brown at Jordan Sells ATX on Instagram with my co-host, John Michael Perez. What's going on, buddy?
What's up, guys? John Michael Perez at John Michael Perez on Instagram. You can also follow us on Instagram at Real Estate Virgins Podcast. Super excited. Today's the first day we're going live on Instagram. So if you have any questions, please let us know, and we'll be able to answer those questions. But today, we're really going to be talking about sellers, representing sellers at a high level, and then setting accurate expectations for sellers so that the transactions are smooth. Because especially right now with interest rates so high and buyer activity so low
in our market,
actually. Yeah. So, but still, if your market is more active, it's still a very good idea to have accurate expectations, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it's the name of the game. We've been preaching it since the beginning of this podcast, since we started, that expectations are what keep your clients in line and on track with what they can expect throughout the transaction. So if you're setting bad expectations, hey, we're going to get into a bidding war. And even though you're priced at 20% over market value, yeah, we're going to get you set up on bidding wars, 50 grand over asking. That's not going to happen. You're going to look bad and you may lose that listing. So it's all about setting good expectations.
100%. And, so I've got a decent amount of listings right now, but full transparency, the activity is just not what it was, even a few months ago.
Yeah.
And so they're priced right. And so we'll talk about it a little bit later in this episode, but having those conversations with the seller and saying, hey, I think it might be a good idea to do a price reduction, right? And what do those conversations look like? We'll talk about that in a little bit later, but this is so important.
This is going to be a very listing heavy conversation. Yeah. I mean, this is going to be the primary thing that we're talking about, just because you have a lot of listings. I came back from vacation over this last week. My little guy did not sleep very well in his new environment. So while it was a vacation, not really, like when I think of vacation, I'm thinking of like being in the pool with a drink, which I was, but I think of like being well rested, sleeping in. Man, it is different with a kiddo. So a couple of nights of poor sleep, we come back and there's this kind of really funny thing that's in real estate where they say, if you want to get busy, go on vacation. Couldn't be more true. I come back and I get bombarded with a listing that's ready to go live, and then a referral from that person for a listing appointment, and then another referral listing appointment. So out of nowhere, boom, 3 listing things are popping up, having to like piece it all together.
The question I always ask is, where were those from?
Mine were referrals. So one of them is a gentleman who we're both connected through the hockey community. He's a pretty prominent figure here in the local area. Mm-hmm. And so we connected on that level. We've played against each other a few times. And we've kept up with each other online. Like we interact on Facebook a lot. Playoffs are going on right now. So it's easy conversation to really, just connect with them on a level that's other than real estate. And I believe that connection earned me the business.
And I think that comes from a place of likability, credibility, and trust, because what's funny is so many people get pitched and advertised to, and you don't know who these people are. But when you know them outside through hobbies or something else besides real estate, it's so much easier to have those conversations because they know you as a person, right?
Yeah.
And so I actually was showing a house this week, and I was like, this client of mine, like I never would have normally showed them a house, but like we know each other outside of real estate. So, and what I mean is like, I would never have, like our personalities aren't the same, right?
Similar with my guy.
Yeah.
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 100%.
But
He's
we do
very
have
dry
some-
and I'm
yeah.
very like out there and outgoing and he's just a little more reserved.
Yeah. And so, but we do have something in common, right? And so if we can align on that thing that we have in common, it's so much easier for him to be a client of mine because he trusts me on the thing that we have in common.
Well, if you have agent 1 and agent 2 and they're both pretty qualified and they both have their approaches and you can't really decipher between one or the other, what's going to be the difference maker? A personal relationship.
Yep.
It's the for those of you who don't have clients right now, or you don't have like a past database to be able to refer to, because one of the secrets that we give or that's in our presentations is referrals. I say or references. Yeah. We say, hey, don't just take my word for it. Call so and so. This is a person that I listed their home. They're in the same city as you. Talk to them about their experience working with me. And that's a secret weapon in and of itself.
Well, so, I think leveraging other people's credibility is a secret weapon, and that may not make sense to the listeners until it actually happens, and you're like, how do I leverage other people's credibility? But when that happens in your life, you're like, wait a minute, this guy knows this guy. What if I just tell this guy to recommend me, right?
Right. And you're right. Some of the listeners, they don't have the past clients to be able to lean into. So so it's not going to make sense until you lean into that and you get those clients. But all that to say, I think that there's a big opportunity to leverage those people and have the relationship and just take it a step further. When you have the relationship and then you're offering, like they may not even call those references, but it's all, when you put it all together, it's like a really impressive package.
Yep.
It's like, not only do I have this personal relationship with you, not only do I have references that you can refer to, I also have this kick-ass marketing plan. I'm going to do this for you and lay it all out there. Show your value. And we've talked about how after the settlement, which it's being brought up, we'll talk about later, and had a listing appointment where it got brought up literally this morning. Saying what you bring to the table matters so much.
And don't skip that part. Don't skip any of the parts. And the thing is like, I've made the mistake in the past where I thought we were really good friends, so that I skipped certain.
We ease up.
Yeah,
we go, I don't have to sell my services to this guy as much because we know each other.
And then I made that mistake and lost the client. And I was like, oh, I thought we were closer than that. Or I thought that he understood me or he trusted me. And I skipped a step and realized, okay, I'm never skipping that step again, right? He may know me from the funny guy online, but he knows that, or he has a certain expectation of the professionalism in real life, right? And so I'm like, okay, so every single client, although I am a funny guy online, when I'm at their house, like I'll throw jokes here and there, but I'm going to have a process and a system, and I'm going to stick to that process and system because they see me as the professional, as well as since I have credibility with somebody that they're, that's in their sphere, it's so much easier to close them as a client.
It's all about recognizing time and place. Right. When you're doing, one thing real quick, I notice a lot of millennials, and myself included, always say, right. Like I've just noticed that in videos a lot. I've been watching a lot of podcasts lately, and all the millennials, after they make a point, they go, right. Like we're waiting for someone to agree with us. I don't know what that is. There's like millennial mannerisms when talking. It's almost like we need that reinforcement for what we just said.
Yeah.
But time and place.
Okay.
When you're attracting clients, it's a very broad spectrum. There's not a specific client that you're making a video for. So if you're making a funny video and that's what gets them to go, oh, you know what? I kind of like this guy a little bit. It's not necessarily to say that they want the funny guy to sell their house. Mm-hmm. They just saw a different side of you and were like, okay, let's interview with this guy. They still want the professional to show up. They still want the processes. They still want the job done.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, I made that mistake where I skipped the process and the systems, and I thought they wanted the funny guy. Yeah. And unfortunately,
you're at a listing appointment, you're like juggling red balls and like bowling pins.
Yeah, no.
And you're like, no, don't worry, we're gonna get it sold really quick.
Yeah, but never making that mistake again. But one really cool thing, this is a little bit off topic, but share the story of what just happened right before this when you were making cold calls.
Yeah. So I had an open house today, and open houses in the Austin area used to, during the pandemic, they were like the golden ticket. If you hosted an open house, you had so many people coming through. There was no question that you were going to talk to a lot of people. This open house I hosted for 3 hours. I had a mentor or a mentee there with me to help, fill in some time, educate them, make use of that time. But we had one person come through, one interested party. And they were very interested. They said that, in fact, that they love the house, which is great. Hopefully that works out. But I was thinking to myself, and most agents need to ask themselves this, because if you don't do any action during your open house time, that's the only time it's wasted. I hate whenever agents say, well, no one showed up, so it was a waste of time. That's not a waste of time. To me, getting away from my house so where I can focus on real estate is really important.
Yeah.
And so while I was there, I did a couple of things. I recorded a walkthrough video, as I do for model homes in the area, for listings, and you never know what's going to come of that. But something told me, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to, while I'm here, I've got the time, I've got my equipment. I'm going to the house is vacant. It's show ready. Let me just go ahead and do a walkthrough video.
Yeah.
So I go outside, I record it myself. I'm go over and I'm talking to some neighbors when they're out there. And anyway, I complete my walkthrough video and I go, okay, I'm going to do reverse prospecting, because that's one thing that differentiates me from a lot of agents. I don't sit back and hope that people discover my listing. I don't sit back and hope that just the sign out front is and being on the MLS is going to get it sold. I'm very proactive, because that's what it takes now. There's 10 times the competition.
Yeah.
I need to be 10 times better. So I go online, I go on the MLS and I look up the reverse prospect, and I see a pool of hundreds of people to call, where it's a possibility, it's a possible match for one of their clients.
Yeah.
So I start picking up the phone. I'm calling these agents, and two really cool things happen. One, I ran into Jenny over at Thrive Realty, who recognized my voice from the podcast. So shout out to Jenny. Thank you for listening. That was really cool. Very friendly interaction. But secondly, two of the people that I called, because I only called for about 15 minutes to wrap it up. Two of the people that I called said, hey, I have clients that really like this home, but they're out of state. So unfortunately, we're not going to make it to your open house. I'm calling them to invite them to the open house and to bring to their attention the listing that I have that matches with their client. And I say, hey, you know what? I actually just recorded a walkthrough video. And if I'm going to get that uploaded on my YouTube channel later this afternoon, possibly evening, if I send you the link to that video, would you mind sharing it with your client? Do you think that'd be something of interest to them? And both of them, 2 out of 2, said, oh my God, that would be wonderful. Yeah. That saves them a possible trip to fly down in case it's not a fit. And it's as close to a walkthrough as they can get without physically being here.
Yeah.
And that little differentiator could be the difference between me getting a deal. And that was in such a short sample size. I've still got hundreds of people that I can call and try to plug this into. But that's utilizing YouTube as a differentiator in my marketing. And when you put it all together, that's what separates me from someone else.
Yeah. So 3 things from that story. 1, he maximized his downtime during the open house, which a lot of people are having slower open houses right now. So you have to maximize that downtime. 2, when he called agents, he was being productive for his listings, right? So he wasn't just sitting around and saying, oh, I hope somebody comes to me. He's proactively trying to find buyers. And then 3, what was the third one? I had something.
Well, I think
he used a video to maximize. That's awesome. Like, you're literally using videos more than just to find clients, but
it's to try to find the right buyer. And I'm saying, hey, I don't want your client being away from here to be the obstacle of them buying this house. So it's just an added thing. Yeah. That's two very, within 10 minutes, uncovered 2 opportunities to get in that house in front of the buyer in a more personal manner, which I think is really cool.
Yeah. And so, I mean, right now listings are super important. In our market, there's tons of listings. There's actually, what is the stat?
It's like 12,500 listings or something
No,
like that.
I think it's more than that.
I'm sure it is.
I just looked it up. I think it's 14,000.
Sorry, that's single family. That's 12,500 single family residences. If you open it up to everything else,
yeah, like
who
condos
knows?
and townhouses.
Yeah.
But that's like 5 or 6 times what we had like 2 or 3 years ago.
Well, during the pandemic, the low that we hit was like 13 to 1,400 homes. So we're talking almost 10x the competition.
Wow.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Austin has had such a whirlwind over the last, 4 years. There's actually a point that I sent you where Austin is the number one highest percentage above pre-pandemic inventory. So what that means is Austin has, out of everywhere in the country, Austin has 66% higher inventory. I think it's 66. I could double check. It's something crazy. It's not even close to whoever's second in the US. More inventory than before the pandemic.
Well, stats like these are super important to be able to tell your sellers, like for example, I had 3 conversations this week, and each conversation they asked me, hey, full transparency, there wasn't as much buyer traffic, and I had to have those conversations. I said, hey, there's 14,000 homes that are available now, over 10 times as much at the lowest point just 4 years ago, And so, and I said, hey, not only is there more inventory, interest rates are way higher, right? And that's the reason why.
Higher competition, less buyers for the competition, for that pool.
Mm-hmm. And so I had to have that conversation of, hey, either improve the home or drop the price.
Yeah.
Right.
The two seller conversation, the listing appointments I had, one of them was at 9 a.m. this morning, right before my open house. And I had to be very, very upfront with them and say, look, my pricing strategy is to get you ahead of where the market's going. I don't want, you told me that it's important for you to sell within a reasonable amount of time. You said you don't want to be on the market for 6 months. So here's the data. And what does that data look like? What are the points that we need to bring to these listing presentations in order to have competency and confidence in what we're saying?
Yeah.
One of the things that I love is I use a program called Cloud CMA. And what Cloud CMA does for me is it takes a bunch of the analytics. Like I always double check the listings that it's pulling from, because sometimes they go back a little too far.
Yeah.
And the date or like how relevant those comps are matters, because what was happening at the beginning of the year is not the same as what's happening right now. And the further back you go, the less relevant those comps become.
Yeah.
So I usually do about 90 days. I do a 90-day search. Again, I keep a pulse on things. If things drastically changed, if interest rates were 2% higher 90 days ago, obviously that's worth noting. But I go in with your home, the homes that are selling within a quarter mile or a half mile, whatever the radius is, the homes in this subdivision are selling for example, 93% of what they originally listed at. So that means there was on average, a 7% drop in the price from where you originally list, and that's what you're going to get it sold at. In order to get to that point, the average days on market was 67 days. Does that plan work for you? What is it that, like, when you hear this information, what is your reaction as the seller?
I like that. Yeah.
And then basing it on that. Well, hey, if you're seeing that it's going to take 67 days to get 93% of what you think you're going to list it at, shouldn't we maybe get a little more aggressive on the price? Should we get ahead of the market so that we're having less days on market? Knowing your client's goals is important. If it's top dollar and they're okay with it being on the market for a longer period of time, that's okay. But if you're wanting top dollar for a short amount of time, that's a different strategy.
So let's say you go live and you got the listing and it's now for sale. You're 3 weeks in and you only have 2 showings. What does that conversation look like? Ring, ring, you call your seller. What does that conversation look like when you think, maybe we should do a price reduction?
For me, I like going in person. I like to be able to review these. What I like to do is basically almost like a brand new CMA. What has happened within the last 3 weeks in your neighborhood?
What if you can't do in person?
You could do a Zoom,
Okay.
or worst case scenario, I could do a phone call.
Okay.
I have the data in front of me one way or another to be able to say, hey, look, when we listed this home, we thought that, we knew this was our strategy. For example, one of my listings right now, we know we're asking for a premium, but we have to ask for that in order to make his next move happen.
Gotcha.
Hey, we listed at this. We thought that, we wanted to see what was going to happen. The market is speaking to us. We've had 2 showings in 3 weeks. That's not a strong showing. What that's telling me is we're overpriced, or that people don't see this home at the current value. Mm-hmm. What would you like to do? I suggest we do blank. What do you think? I just saw that a house down the road dropped their price $10,000. What do you think we should do?
And that last part of that sentence is extremely important. I say, what are your thoughts, right? Mm-hmm. What do you think? What are your thoughts? And pretty much data, then put it into their plate, right? What are your thoughts? And then it doesn't offend them because now you put it pretty much on them.
It's collaborative. I'm not here to tell you what to do. It's based on the data. This is what I suggest.
Yeah.
How does it fit with your goals right now?
Yeah. And then, so now, I don't really want to drop that much. How about we drop to X amount? Perfect. We'll try that,
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll probably ask for your opinion on what if we drop it to 5K instead to 10,
And having that information pulled up, again, it's almost like running a brand new CMA to be able to say, let's get a refreshed look at what's happened within the last 3 weeks and where your house currently stands.
Yeah.
Because let's say now your home is the highest priced per square foot that's available.
Yeah.
And it wasn't beforehand. That's important to know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then you can adjust your strategy from there.
Okay. So when do you get listing documents signed? Like, you have the listing appointment. Do you get it signed there, like in front of them? Or do you get it when you head back? Or do you get it when you get a verbal agreement? What does that look like for you?
I am such a relational person, and I don't like pressure. I don't like making people feel like they're being pressured into something. Mm-hmm. And I want it to feel like when they choose me to work with me, that's like, hey, I'm excited to work with you. Thank you for choosing me. Let's go to work.
Yeah.
I'm not the kind of person, I feel almost like it's car salesy to be like, here's my presentation. Here you go. Sign right there on the dotted line. Right? I don't necessarily, that's not my style. That's not to say that you can't do that.
Yeah.
But it's not in my DNA to do it that way.
Yeah.
I feel like if someone is going to work with me, I can have them sign digitally later. Mm-hmm. I don't think it would be a thing where I'm like, I'm going to close it right here. Otherwise, you're not going to work with me.
Right.
I feel like if I show up, I show my competency, I show that I can empathize with them, understand their situation, provide clear solutions, they're going to go with me no matter what.
100%. Yeah.
I'm
the exact same way.
You ask other people and they say, absolutely bring a copy of the listing documents. Mm-hmm. And it's not a bad idea to review it and say, look, I'm going to be sending this over later. I want to make sure I address any concerns that you have while I'm here. If you have any questions over the listing presentation, let's talk about it right now.
Yeah.
And that's one way of tackling it heads on. Again, that's a little more of an aggressive approach. I don't necessarily do that.
I use Loom a lot of times. So like I'll record a video and go over the listing agreement. And then if they have any, I'll say, hey, I created this Loom. The comps are on there. The listing appointment, the listing agreement is on there. I sort of go over it. And then if you have any other questions, just let me know. It'd be cool to create an evergreen Loom video for that too, that I can just send to every seller. That might not be a bad idea. And when I say evergreen, it's a video that I create once that I can send out to every client.
Evergreen's a big secret. It's like a secret weapon because it frees up your time. Mm-hmm. One thing that we've uncovered through our journey in real estate is that there's a lot of things that are repeat information that if we would have an evergreen video in place, it would solve a lot of problems.
Yeah.
And then you can then utilize that time to go do other money generating activities.
Yep. And that's the thing is if you really want to make a lot of money in real estate, you pretty much have to leverage time as much as possible.
Automate what you can.
Yeah.
You know, like drip campaigns are a big thing where if you're trying to stay in front of prospects, instead of you having to stay on top of it, let your CRM go to work for you. Evergreen videos. Hey, I've got a new listing. I'm going to send them these 3 evergreen videos to prep them and get them ready for their listing. Little things like that, and it goes a long way.
Well, here's the thing. I was having a conversation with an agent yesterday, and she goes, "Man, I had some family members use a realtor that wasn't me, you know, and I thought I was the agent that they were going to use." And she said that she realized that she wasn't staying in front of them enough, right? And she said, "I got to set up drip campaigns. I got to set up newsletters, right?" And the thing is really the agent that is in front of your prospect the most is probably going to be the agent that they work with, right? And so that's why we always preach, how do we be as omnipresent as possible, right? TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, newsletters. Like, how do we be everywhere so that when those opportunities arise, you're the only agent that has been in front of them the entire time. When I walk into a coffee shop, sometimes people are like, "Oh, there's John. Why am I opening up Facebook and all I see is your stuff?" Right?
Right.
It's because I've hacked the algorithm, right? I'm like liking things, I'm commenting on things, I'm sharing things, and I'm making sure that every time something comes up, it's pretty much at the top of everybody's, feed, right? And the reason why is because as soon as somebody's thinking about selling, I want me to be the first person that they think of.
Social media is a fantastic free way to do that. I mean, I know that whenever I was a little bit younger, I used social media to write stupid statuses, take dumb quizzes and stuff like that. But now as an adult, it seems like you can use it in a way where you're still being like people want to see stuff about your life. That's why it's good to mix it up a little bit. I share, photos of my son. I share things that we're doing. I should, if I go on vacation, I'll be in the pool, little things like that. But don't get it twisted. I'm there to advertise my business.
Yeah.
And that's the stuff that's going to earn me business. And so putting in a good little mix there, that's important. I think a little bit kind of, you got to kind of tweak what you're putting out because people get really used to your stuff and they start predicting what you're going to say or what it's about. For example, we noticed we were going so heavy on content that had the same background, and it seemed like the retention was less because people were skipping because they're like, "Oh, they're talking about real estate. Boom, I'm gone."
Yep.
And you got to kind of mix it up. You got to put a good little mixture in there so that people don't start predicting what you're going to say.
Yeah. I've been, you know this, but I've hired a team to set up my newsletter and my content, and it's helped me so much because now I can focus on other things. But here's the thing. We preach leverage, right? Leverage as much as possible. But there's no point in leveraging as much as possible if you're not filling in that extra free time with more things, right?
Yeah.
Because if that free time could have just been used for free, then you should have just used that free time. But if you leverage the things that you don't have to do, right? So in other words, hire a transaction coordinator or hire a video editor or somebody that sets up your newsletters. If you leverage that, now you need to use the extra 20 hours a week by doing more content or meeting up with more clients, right? But if you don't, then don't leverage.
Big obstacle for a lot of people doing content is knowing that they're going to have to edit the video. And editing can take quite a while. If you're not familiar with the tools, like teaching yourself how to do it, to learn that skill, to do it quickly. I mean, I've been doing editing on my own videos for a very long time, and it's still very time consuming. Yeah. So what you have to say is, if I value my time at, let's just say $100 an hour, do I think that a video editor charging X amount is going to save me that equal time that I could be doing something else? So let's say it's 1 hour. It takes a video editor 1 hour. So there's $100 And maybe they're only charging me $25 to edit that video. They're charging me a quarter of my hour for this video, but they're going to free up how much of my time. So I'm going to pay $25 to save $200 worth of time.
And
And it's important because I can then take my 2 hours that I would have spent doing that and call my sphere.
exactly.
Go make another video. Go do something else, because then if I don't do anything with it, that's whenever I burned money. It's when you don't have the exchange. I'm giving you 25 so I can go do $200 worth of activity somewhere else.
Yeah.
If you're not doing the $200 worth of activity, you're in the hole.
I like it too because it defeats procrastination if I hire someone else to do it, right? It's like, okay, I'm going to make 5 videos. I'm going to edit 5 videos. You know what? I'm going to edit those tomorrow. The next day. The next day. Well, I just give it to my editor and he gets it done.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, the busier you get in your business, some people are sitting here thinking, oh, this is me. I've got to hire XYZ to help my business. Other people are going, well, I can do everything myself. I've got nothing else going on. You're going to get to a point in your business where you start going, dang, I haven't posted a video in a month. And if I would have hired someone to edit it, and that's all I was going to have to do was dedicate 2 hours to edit this video. And I'm making excuses, or I'm getting too busy, and it's getting put on the back burner. Now I haven't posted something in a long time, and I feel like my back's against the wall. The reason I'm talking so passionately about this is because this is me.
Yeah.
I hadn't posted on my YouTube channel for a month, and finally I said, dude, enough is enough. You got to stop making the excuses. Sit your ass down and record a video. You're going to edit it today, and we're going to get it uploaded. And I don't want to put myself in that position again. So part of me has been thinking, hey, maybe I do get a video editor and leverage that time that I could save to record more video. Now I'm feeding him more consistent stuff. They're going to upload it for me. They're going to get it posted. They're going to make it look really nice. And I just freed up all that time.
Well, sort of the old way of thinking is, well, I'm just going to do everything myself, right?
I'm such a control freak. That's speaking to me.
Well, here's the thing. It's not a bad thing to be a control freak if things get done right in the way you want it. But at the same time, if you can do more by leveraging others, you know what I'm saying, then it's probably a better idea.
Well, in my head, and this is where your past experiences, I think, make control freaks. I was born into a role at telecom company where everyone hated their jobs. No one wanted to get promoted. No one cared about doing anything other than being on their phone. Like, I had an uninspired workforce.
Yeah.
And as a manager, they would say, hey, leverage your other people to get stuff done.
Yeah.
So I would give a task to somebody, and when they wouldn't, either A, it didn't get done, or B, it didn't get done to the quality I would have done it at, I said, whatever, I'm going to do it myself.
Yeah.
So it became a repeating pattern in my life that even though there was more responsibility thrown on me, I was going to be the person to do it because I know what's going to come out on the other end. I know if I edit my video, what it's going to look like.
Yeah.
But these are irrational fears. In a business like real estate, it's irrational.
Also, don't let bad experiences defeat the opportunity of future good experiences. So, like, if you had a bad editor and he didn't do it right, that doesn't mean you don't use VAs ever again, right? It's like, no, you probably have to have some type of hiring process, as in, hey, I'll test you out, right? Or I'm gonna, if you don't like that guy and you don't like his the turnaround time, then use somebody else, right?
And we're also talking about two completely different things.
Yeah, that's
we're
true.
talking about having a dedicated person who I'm paying to do a job, do it for me, versus adding more to someone's existing job that they already hate doing.
That's true.
So two completely different experiences. Yeah. If I would have hired, like if these people who I was going to delegate tasks to did it really well, I'd be like, oh, delegation is the greatest thing ever.
Exactly.
But my personal experience has me jaded and says, no, you need to be the control freak and you've got to let that go because your time is so valuable. We all wake up with these same 24 hours in a day. And we look at people who get stuff done. I do as well, where I go, how does this person do this? And they utilize their time. they leverage better than I do. They do all the things correctly, and I'm either too scared or I want to do it all myself.
Yeah, you and I had a meeting with Suman this week, right? And we were having a conversation, and he goes, "Oh man, I got to get this paperwork done." He's like, "This, option period's over at 5," and I'm looking at my phone, and it's 4:00, and so we keep talking, and he gets on his phone, does a text, and it's like 4:45, and I say, "Hey, Suman, don't you got to get that paperwork signed?" And he's like, "Oh, I already got it done." I'm like, "Wait, how'd you do that?" He's like, "Team."
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so what was happening, we had a team meeting, which was important. He had someone else do his paperwork to get all the amendment signed, everything sent over to the seller. While him and I were having this conversation, all he did was send a text to assistant. "Hey."
What he didn't have to do was say, "Hey, I can't do the meeting because I have paperwork I have to do."
Exactly.
Or I have this video I have to edit, or insert any task that we love taking on ourselves because we have this fear of paying for it.
Exactly.
So you're right. Believe me, I've been thinking about it. I've been thinking about it long and hard, and I have got to get someone editing my videos. I think
one of the transactions, let's not say which one, but one of the transactions that you and I did, very simple. It was like so easy because literally so simple because we leveraged a team, I did. And it did take a while to sell that house, but we were able to, and because there was really not much to do, and that's one of the superpowers of, CEOs, bosses, that's what you got to do, leverage other people's, what they're good at so you can focus on money generating activities.
And you're the CEO of your real estate business.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about how do I use the tools at my disposal? What are the cost benefits of hiring this service versus this one?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously you don't want to be blowing money on a bunch of stuff, but the things that are important to you and your approach to real estate, see if there's something you can do to leverage it.
Yeah.
Because there's only one of you, and only you can do business the way that you're going to do business. And so if you feel that your time is crunched and that you're not available to do other things that you know are important, it's time to look at leverage.
And I will say, if you're a brand new agent, which, a decent amount of our listeners are, you're going to have to learn and do a lot of stuff at the very beginning, right? And we encourage you to, so that you understand how to leverage it later, or how to know when to hire the right people to do it. At the very beginning, I was doing every single thing, learning every single thing. And then it was like information overload. It was like drinking from a fire hose, but I had to get through that to understand how to leverage.
And you may be sitting there going, well, I've got all the time in the world. There's no way that I'm going to be paying a transaction coordinator $400. What would I do that for? It takes my week went from having nothing lined up to having 3 things listing involved like that.
Yeah.
And it takes one of those experiences for you to see the value and what freeing up your time and your headspace. Because I remember, man, I think I've shared this story before. I was working at the telecom company. I was trying to get my real estate business going. I was part-time, and I was on the sales floor, and I had 3 deals going on at once. And I had a 5 p.m. deadline for if we were going to terminate or extend our option period or whatever we were going to do. Then this other person wanted to go look at houses. Holy. And all while I'm trying to sell a friggin' phone on the floor.
Yeah.
And I can't be on the phone. And I was so overwhelmed. And I really think that exact moment was when my brain fog suddenly appeared because I was so stressed about it. Yeah. And I'm like, imagine if I had leverage where I had a transaction coordinator where I said, hey, John, can you take care of this?
Imagine if one more deal came in and you weren't able to take it, that would have sucked, one more client was like, hey, because you were at that tipping point. Basically.
I had no more bandwidth. And it's all because I was being a control freak.
Yeah. And, that could have been an extra 15, 16 grand where you could have leveraged it instead of 15, 16 grand.
I'm so worried about losing like $25 on a video, on having a video or a VA edit my video, that I'll waste $200 of my own time. Great business economics, right?
It's a very weird mindset shift for sure.
And it's a tax write-off. I mean, come on.
That's true. That's true. That's less money you have to pay in taxes. And it's funny because I didn't realize we were going to get into the leveraging conversation.
I didn't either.
But yeah, it's important for sure. This is the first time we ever went live on Instagram. Interesting for sure. And if you haven't followed us on Instagram yet, please do.
Where can they find you?
At John Michael Perez on Instagram. What about you?
At Jordan Sells ATX. Guys, we love hearing stories about things that are going on in your business. We love having conversations with other agents, seeing what's going on around the country and around the world if you're listening international.
Our team is crushing it right now, dude.
Team's crushing.
I'm like, dude, Jennifer texted me, I got 200 contract this week. And I'm like, let's go.
Yep. It's cool because there's I've always thought, and I think this in buyers and sellers and agents, everything within real estate, that there's people crushing it every day. Mm-hmm. There's people that crush it. And the people who go, well, I can't be successful because of this reason. You can't be successful because of your own limiting beliefs.
Yep.
And that's really it. Because there's someone out there doing the work, getting it done. There's someone making the videos when you decide not to show up because it's too hot outside. Or not hosting open houses because the last one you didn't work. Mm-hmm. Showing up, man. Show up for your business, or don't get mad at the results or lack thereof.
Mic drop.
Boom. Guys, thank you so much for listening. A little bit of a shorter episode this time, but hopefully it helps your listings. Be prepared. Know what you have to talk about. Know what sellers are expecting to discuss and what they want to hear from you as the expert. Make it relative to your local market. Be the local expert, and you will close more deals. I promise. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we will catch you in the next one.